Hey guys, in this video we're going to be talking about how Bitcoin and the new cryptocurrency economy is becoming a huge profit booster for entrepreneurs. So like a lot of people, it actually took quite a bit of convincing for me to get fully bought into Bitcoin. And I first heard about Bitcoin from a hedge fund buddy of mine back in 2011. And it took me right up until about 2013 when the China bubble hit and price went from 100 to 1,000 for me to go, man, this is actually something that's not going away. So if you're an entrepreneur that has been on the sidelines, or maybe you understand Bitcoin, or maybe you are like me and you thought it was some kind of scam or Ponzi scheme or pump and dump or something like that, maybe a passing fad, now's the time to realize, if you're not already bought in on this, that this is going to be a game changer. It already is a game changer, and you're either going to be able to ride that wave and generate extra revenue with it, or you're going to get left in the dust. So the first way that Bitcoin is becoming a huge profit booster for entrepreneurs is in the way that it's disrupting e-commerce. You know, for a long time now, fat cats like Amazon.com and eBay have enjoyed really big profits by offering basically a centralized marketplace. And if you play by their rules and you pay them a fee, you can participate. But now we're starting to see the emergence of decentralized marketplaces like Open Bazaar, where they don't take any fee, and basically it's just as easy as going to a field where there's no government regulation and anybody setting up a shop, right? So these decentralized marketplaces give anybody the opportunity to sell anything they want anywhere around the world using Bitcoin as the medium of exchange. And so I think over the next several years, we're going to see some huge disruptions in the e-commerce space. Now, profit center number 2 is that accepting Bitcoin and playing in this new cryptocurrency economy opens you up to hundreds of thousands of eager and hungry Bitcoin enthusiasts. You know, there are a lot of people out there that really believe in cryptocurrency as a currency, especially in countries where there's currency controls or hyperinflation, and those people are just really hungry to buy and sell products with Bitcoin. And so there are now, I believe, well over 100,000 businesses that actively accept Bitcoin as a form of payment, and every week we hear stories of companies that are actually using it as their preferred mode of payment for reasons we'll talk about in a second. So point number 3 is faster international payments. And this one is a big one for me because I have customers in, I think, close to 90 countries now around the world, and I actually prefer Bitcoin over using credit cards or PayPal because obviously fees, but you know, just the restrictions that merchant companies put on you and PayPal will put on you. I have a story of a friend of mine that was doing a multi-million-dollar product launch, and this was actually before Kickstarter, and PayPal and his merchant, for whatever reason, just locked up, and they actually locked up his funds for like 6 months. I mean, we're talking 7 figures here, and that's something that can never happen with Bitcoin. So the fact that I can do business internationally and send international remittances or accept payments internationally in a few minutes for virtually free with no hassle is just a huge, huge benefit for entrepreneurs. So, you know, if anybody is in the e-commerce business, or if you've ever accepted a credit card payment or a PayPal payment, you know how big of a pain in the ass it can be to have that third party trying to dictate what you can and can't do. So this is where Bitcoin is just a huge profit center for entrepreneurs. And then point number 4 actually goes to the customer. It's a much better buying experience for your customers, especially those that don't want to divulge all of their personal information. You know, with Bitcoin, you can buy stuff without having to give your address, your credit card number, and open yourself up to either fraud or hackers or stuff like that. So if you understand how to secure your Bitcoin, then that's going to be a lot more secure for your customer than trusting every merchant out there to keep their personal information secure. There's a lot of, you know, CRMs, customer relationship management systems, that get hacked, and you know, I think Target was one that had a really big problem with this, where there were millions of customers that had their credit card and personal information leaked. And with Bitcoin, it's pseudo-anonymous, where if you're using a public Bitcoin address, it's really difficult to tie that to a single person or access and run up their credit cards and steal their identity and stuff like that. And point number 5 is irreversible payments. So one thing that's a big pain in the ass for merchants and entrepreneurs and everything from mom and pop shops up to multi-billion-dollar companies is chargebacks, right? If you do business the right way, you shouldn't get that many chargebacks, but there are people that like to run fraud on companies and buy stuff and charge it back and keep the product anyway. So this helps the merchant stay in control. And if you do business the right way and maybe you want to offer refunds and you have that policy in place, you can still do right by your customer, but by having irreversible transactions, that's going to cut down on hundreds of millions of dollars of wasted expenses and problems that this creates for especially large companies. I know there's significant departments that are created just to handle chargebacks and stuff like that. So the irreversible payment is a really big benefit for entrepreneurs. Point number 6 is lower transaction fees. So I love this meme of the Western Union. I don't know if you can see that. I'm going to link it up in the blog post. It might be a little too small, but there's an advertisement that Western Union put out that was talking about how you can send money for $5 and all this stuff, and then somebody created a mirror Bitcoin ad that was basically like, send Satoshis around the world for a penny, any amount, So basically, I know in my business we pay anywhere from 2 to 4% on credit card fees, and then PayPal takes a fee. Western Union, and this is where it actually helps the underbanked or people that are working in a different country sending money home. We hear a lot of these stories about people in Bangladesh and India that go to places like Dubai, and they're basically slave labor because after Western Union or whoever they're using to send payments home takes their almost 10% cut, that equates to weeks of work, right? For what? They're not adding any value. So the fact that Bitcoin allows people to send money for free around the world, and you just pay a few pennies to miners to support the network, that's really going to help a lot of micro merchants, as I call them, people that are either providing micro businesses in places like Myanmar, where my good friend Ryan Russell is helping a ton of entrepreneurs out there, or people that are working in different countries trying to get themselves out of poverty, and all the way up to big businesses that can save millions of dollars on useless fees for companies that really aren't doing anything. Number 7 is probably my favorite. It's access to hidden human resources. So one example is a few months ago I just went to Myanmar, formerly Burma. It's right next to Thailand. This is a country that was under a repressive regime. It was closed off to the outside world for like 50 years. And just a few years ago, they have now removed the government, put some good people in place, I think, and they have opened themselves up to the outside world. The problem is people in Myanmar don't trust banks because they've done bail-ins or basically just stolen people's money outright. And so a lot of people that earn less than a few $100s a month, which is most of the country, actually does the whole cash under the bed thing. And where that's really dangerous is it limits entrepreneurs to a very small location, right? With Bitcoin, by having the internet and by having Bitcoin as a medium of exchange, it opens entrepreneurs up to a global economy where people don't have to have a merchant account or a bank account to transact internationally. And again, I'm just really passionate about helping all entrepreneurs, but in particular, entrepreneurs that are coming from places with repressive governments. Because luckily, and I know a lot of people complain about America and the United States, luckily we have a government that doesn't throw you in jail if you say something bad about a politician and is somewhat open to entrepreneurship. And I know every country has its issues, but I'm lucky enough to live in a country that actually supports entrepreneurship, and I want to give back and help people that are that have these backgrounds where they don't have the same resources and tools. And so I think Bitcoin just makes that a level playing field. And number 8 is you get to attract customers from government-controlled countries like China. China has a lot of currency controls, and there are many countries around the world that you don't really understand. If you live in a country like the United States, you don't understand what it's like to do business in a country that restricts how much money you can take out of it or where you can and can't invest. And so Bitcoin allows somebody that's in one of these countries to do business outside of its own little, imaginary borders, right? I mean, I think governments are helpful in some ways, but in a lot of ways, these man-made borders that we put up are just restrictions that are unnecessary. And so one thing that I just love about Bitcoin is how it's democratizing money. It's leveling the playing field. Historically, my skill set has been trading the financial markets, and that was what initially got me interested in Bitcoin, but I'm also an entrepreneur and investor, and I love startups. I love working with entrepreneurs, and so this is probably the biggest tool that I am the most excited about pretty much ever. It's just really incredible the opportunity that this is opening up. So I would encourage you, if you're a small business owner, large business owner, or if you're just like, I'm not a business owner, but I want to know about Bitcoin, now is the time to really understand this space and profit from the ride that we are just beginning on. So hope you guys enjoyed this. Share it with your friends, like it up. Let me know if you have any questions or comments, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care.